All right, shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, all honor, and all glory to call Loyam, La Yahweh, Ba Hashem Yahushai, Ba Hashem Racha, Kodash Rakatham. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone who do well. Peace and salutation to the occupant across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akwat and the Akim out there listening and learning. Lord willingly, this is an edifying video. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of the other nations, which appear like the other nations, but whom subscribe to this truth. To you, I say shalom. So, Brother Yahweh Sop out of the GMS Cleveland Church, a fellow servant, coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh Shem Shai. So, basically, I was going through this book that the brother, one of the brothers is on the other side of the camp, he allowed me to have. And I guess this is an older book, but it says How White Folks Got So Rich. It doesn't really have a specific author. It says by the architects of the White Supremacy book series. It says by Reclamation Project. So in this book, as you can see, it goes into all these different subjects and all these different things from sharecropping to subprime mortgages and predatory lending to forced consumerism, affirmative action. All these things were systems set up in place for Esau Edom to actually benefit from. When you go into sharecropping literally, you had our ancestors that literally worked the plantations, and then when they supposed to receive their freedom, they couldn't own the land, so they were allowed to still work the land. And although Esau Edom still owned the land, it's like they was renting the land to actually grow the crops. And then when it came time to actually, because Esau Edom, because he owned the land, he made substantial profit, especially back then. But goes into sugar, cotton, and then oil. Or it goes into a section talks about how literally it was statements that was made by some of these former presidents, these Edomites that actually owned slaves. They was talking about how, like, if you own, like George Washington, I think they said owned like 350 slaves, and I think like 90 of them was like children. So he was slave breeding, and said it was somebody that made a comment. They said, I don't feel like going to get it, but they said if I own one slave, I'll be a wealthy man. If I owned multiple slaves, I'll be. I forgot how exactly it was quoted. So point being, like brothers always bring out, this place was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of Jake. And it's amazing because although Jake built this place up, we were watching the decline of it, and Esau Edom is going to be the one that, this place was built like this is Esau Edom's paradise, and it's going to be destroyed by Esau Edom because the biggest people that's upset about these changes in their way of life is these Edomites. That's when you're going to see Isaiah 19:2, the Egyptian versus Egyptian, because these Babylonians, these present day Americans are the modern day Egyptians. Because when you go into, the architecture and the philosophies of Egypt, the elder Yashawamba from Dallas always goes into it. I wasn't even that up on how many similarities Egypt has. It's a book called Are We Rome? I have this book. It goes into the similarities between America and Rome. Well, the elder Yashawama goes into the similarities between ancient Egypt and America. When you go into the Masonic customs and whatnot, like a lot of the things that Masons do are Masonic Egyptian customs. There's a book called Satanic Masonic Egyptian Connection, roughly paraphrased. It's free too. You can find it online if you look it up. Forgot the author's name, but you can get a PDF for him. So saying all that to say this, Salakia, I looked up this word. Okay, so this is out of Wikipedia. It says domestic terrorism, because right now you're hearing that word domestic terrorist floating around a lot. And I was gonna play these videos because that's what prompted this video. I got a basically a notification in my feed. I think it was RT. There's a mother. Basically, you got these Edomite parents that's going to these schools and these school meetings, and basically the government and the school consuls have like they've made some kind of partnership, because if any parent comes to object about these mass mandates with their children or anything like that, um, basically they could be considered a domestic terrorist. It's a situation that happened where a father went to the school because his daughter basically was raped by a supposed transgender. Now, the Esau Edom is enforcing this. Oh, if you feel like you're a girl when you're really a boy, well, you could be a girl. And then situations like this happen. So this boy that felt like a girl was a girl up until what I mean, he did what boys naturally want to do and want to fuck with a girl. And he's supposed to rape this little girl. So the father went up there and basically had something to say. He basically, I guess, went in on the school board, and basically he got his ass whooped, and I think he went to jail as well. I remember the elders in Connecticut was speaking on it. A few other brothers were speaking on it. So this is domestic terrorism. The definition from Wikipedia says domestic terrorism or homegrown terrorism is a form of terrorism in which victims within a country are targeted by a perpetrator with the same citizenship as the victims. There are many definitions of terrorism, and none of them are universally accepted. The United States Department of State defined terrorism in 2003 as a premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetuated against non-combatant targets by subnational groups or clandestine agents, usually intended to influence an audience. There is no federal criminal offense designated as domestic terrorism. Okay, then I got another definition. Bear with me for a second. Okay, so this says domestic terrorism in the United States. Domestic terrorism in the United States consists of incidents which are confirmed to be domestic terrorist acts. These attacks are considered domestic because they occurred within the United States and they were carried out by U.S. citizens and or U.S. permanent residents. As of 2021, the United States government considers white supremacists to be the top domestic terrorist threat. And that just show you how cold the Lord is. Now, I'm showing you something. So that's the term domestic terrorist. We just read them. Any acts done to people that's supposed to be citizens of this country by other people that's considered citizens of this country. Now, see how they're changing the wording, because like I said, again, if you're not agreeing with this administration's and the legislation that they're passing, they're considering you domestic terrorists. And that's what all that Patriot Act shit was, Because once that happened, that allowed, Bush made a statement. Bush Jr. made a statement. He said, years from now, people going to look at me and understand what I did. He passed a lot of that legislation that we're about to deal with now. The Patriot Act basically allows them to actually, because at one point in time, they couldn't just surveillance us. But now they're surveillance us because of 9/11. Well, they've been doing it since, 9/11? You know what I mean? So, in this same very book, it was something that caught my interest, and it should catch yours, because just showing you how we are not naturally really meant to be here, and what the true domestic terrorist is. So this is out of that same book, How White Folks Got So Rich. It says the Ku Klux Klan was the generic name for literally hundreds of white domestic terrorist groups. Let's get that again. White domestic terrorist groups. It says, whose collective aim was to force the ex-slave back in his place on the plantation, cultivating the commodity at the very center of the world economy, cotton. Ku Kluxers were not uneducated rabble or erratic outlaws. They compromised white government officials and businesses and religious leaders. That's why you had a lot of them that was police. I was watching this video on YouTube. It's some kind of black, well, I ain't gonna say black. We know the word black is just a construct. It was a Jake, but he might have been a terror. And basically, he made relationships with Ku Klux Klan members, these Edomites, and basically, he was saying, like, they then gave him like they Klan outfits and masks, and basically he was saying, basically, all as being in America, and people really believe that they are Americans. Like, I got a dumbass nigga bitch that I work with that keep on talking about, I don't have to take that. I don't have to take the jab. I'm an American. You know what I mean? Like, you gonna see, you gonna take it because you're American. Anyhow, it says the Klan openly and successfully recruited members in churches, synagogues, and Masonic halls. Many communities even had Ku Klux Klan country fairs. And you can see they having a march. And sometimes even fielded KKK baseball teams. And one of their biggest demonstrations ever held in Washington, D.C. in August 1925. That's how it be sometimes. 1925, the United States government issued permits, and a special detail of Marines gave tribute to the Klan leaders as they marched unmasked down Pennsylvania Avenue. Now, the thing is, they still give these permits out. That's why you, like when Black Lives Matter was having their protests, the Klan was having theirs. And then you skip until you see in a lynching. Jake need to look at that because they forgot who was thy enemy. Scripture says in the book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 12, never trust thine enemy. I keep on reading. It says, their unique and highly appreciated contributions to America's civil pride was their destruction of black businesses, farms, schools, property, human beings. So the unique thing that they contributed to society was them basically their perpetual hatred towards Jake. Between 1887 and 1906, a black American citizen was lynched every 4 days. So many blacks were massacred in one Texas county that the local paper complained that vultures became a nuisance. The so-called Red Summer of 1919. And I think around that time, that's when you had like Black Wall Street and all that old stuff. Or I think the massacre at the Chicago Black Belt. I know something happened. It was a lot of judgment on Jake back then. Killing untold hundreds of blacks and destroying properties in the millions of dollars. A forgotten American. Blacks lost billions through these acts of terror, which they were. They were being terrorized. Their businesses were often uninsured. Their businesses were often uninsured because the racist policies of American insurance companies. So the destruction of black businesses was totally unrecoverable. Whites had no such disabilities in growing their businesses. Such government-sanctioned community murder ensured that blacks would live at the bottom of the economic hierarchy in a constant state of terror, unwilling to risk death to cast a simple vote and unable to achieve the financial stability necessary to accumulate wealth and then pass it on to subsequent generations. So I wanted to bring that out because at the end of the day, that's your true domestic terrorists. The people that believe that this is their country from the get-go. So I'm going to start at the book of Psalms, chapter 73. I'm beginning at verse 1. A psalm of Asaph. Truly Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. Verse 2, but as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. Verse 3, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. Because they don't suffer the same adversities as the rest of these people. It's a such thing called white privilege. That's crazy because I was listening to D.L. Hughley's show yesterday and they was just talking about that. Talking about sensitivity training. And D.L. Hughley made the statement, although he a lightweight coon trying to hold on to his shit. It's funny. He was kind of lightweight, outspoken, and then he's got this so-called CV-19. And now so he was saying basically, like when one of these mega corporations, when you had a board meeting and one of these Edomites called Jake a nigga at the board meeting to actually stop from being sued, they'll like put that person in sensitivity training, understanding, basically your position and how white privilege plays a part and whatnot. He said basically now they're doing it beforehand. I think he said it was Facebook. If that's not, I believe it was Facebook, the company that actually was starting the sensitivity training. Um, Verse 5, this is the point, and that's a spirit because I just brought that up. I forgot that was in here. He said, they are not in trouble as other men. The scripture said, they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Because when you go into the wealth that these devils have accumulated, like that's the spirit as well. Yeah, the elder Yashua Wamba was just speaking on that. You got people like Mark Zuckerberg that lost billions of dollars and didn't bat an eye. You got people like Elon Musk, which that devil, that ain't his real name. Elon fucking Musk. You know what he named his son? You know what I'm saying? He named him a fucking... Anyhow, some weirdo shit. I think during, because during this pandemic and the stock market shit, they was losing money. They gained a lot of money, but they lost a lot of money. But they made more money than they lost. At one point, if you can recall, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they all lost money during the pandemic, but they all earned more money too. That's why you got a gap far wider with these billionaires as opposed to what it was before pre-pandemic. It says, the point is verse 6. Therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain, violence covereth them as a garment. And the book of Obadiah tells you how proud they are and basically showing you how violent they are. These are these devils, I just read it, basically they terrorized Jake. And they about to again. History tends to repeat itself. And what do you think Jacob's, at last, Jeremiah 30:7, the time of Jacob's trouble? What do you think that is? Let me get that Obadiah. Matter of fact, Obadiah 1. Let me go get this Matthew. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. So the kingdom of heaven is first and foremost, Yasharallah, the Israelites, because Yasharallah is a people before it's an actual place. It's a people that inhabit the land that makes that land a land. That's why Africa's name Africanus, because Africa, because the Leo Scipius Africanus actually conquered the land. So it's the kingdom of heaven suffer violence, and the violent taken by force. And who's the violent? Esau, Edom. Prove that with just reading out of that book. Bear with me for a second. This is the book of Obadiah. I'm going to start at verse 1. It's the book of Obadiah. Oh, bear with me for a second. Let me get this Ezekiel. I think 135. It's the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Verse 2, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. And you're seeing that now. That's why it talks about, she shall be like a chased roe. All these different countries is going to basically turn against this fucking devil. Verse 3, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. This man, when you go into this multiverse, this man, that's a big ass witchcraft spell. I mean, certain things I know, and contrary to certain people's belief, it's certain things people were equipped with before you came into the truth. I already know. It tells you in the scriptures that knowledge puffeth up, and with much knowledge is much sorrow. So, certain things, the Lord put it on certain, everybody's equipped for certain things. The Lord used everybody for what purpose he uses them for. I'm just going to say it like that. So, but when you really take the time to just look at it, this man is creating a universe where he could play God. Oh, you could, and then to show you how cold it is, like it's an episode of Black Mirror called 15 Million Merits or something like that. It got the guy from Get Out. I don't know that guy named Chad. No, it ain't Chadwick, but the guy that played on Black Panther and Get Out though. Um, he played on the episode. And when you really sit back and think about what they doing, they literally, and you're gonna have a lot of people fall for this shit. That's why the Lord gotta come back to be destroyed. You know, that guy Papa Duck made a statement. He said this is gonna fuck up the world. And it is. It's a documentary on Netflix called The Social Experiment. And when you go into literally like what Facebook has done more harm, this social media shit has done more harm than it has done more good. They literally socially engineer people through this shit. You got people so fucking vain, they want to tell you what they eating, what they doing all fucking day. You know, there's certain females that I know from the world that, you know, and I should have knew Facebook was fucked up because I remember I deleted my profile and page on Facebook because I was fucking with two different broads, right? You know what I mean? This is when I was in the world, but point being, I messed with two different broads, and I'm like, I'm gonna get caught. The spirit was on me. I'm in a nigga though. I'm like, I'm gonna get caught, so I delete my shit. The female still found out about it. And I'm like, how the fuck they found out? So I'm like, I'm about to sue them. Now I knew this chick in the world that actually like had some shit in Esau's system. You know, like because they set it up for a woman. You know, but well, they set it up to a certain extent for a woman. You know what I mean? Like she had some shit going. Long story short, she like, no, you can't sue him. I'm like, what you mean? I deleted the profile. She like, well, once you sign and filled out, you know, the agreement to use their service, that's why you got like when you like all you know Esau's witchcraft. That's witchcraft. You know what I'm saying? You'd agreed to some shit you didn't even realize you agreed to. You know, social media, motherfuckers get killed over social media. Motherfuckers show it or find out where you be at. Salakia for digression. It says, verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushua. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? So basically, it's going into, you know, thieves with a stole, and people that glean the grapes would have took some, but they'd have left some. Esau Edom is so greedy. He's so his carnate. That's why you watching and witnessing it. These fucking devils are trying to hoard all the resources of the earth to themselves. It's not. The earth is a vast place. I was just listening to Elder Yashawamba speak on this. When you take time to think about it, you know it's just so vast because you got property and land that's not even being touched or used. Yet still they telling you though there's not enough land. Because in their mind they think it's not enough land because they don't know how to govern the land correctly. You know, like how Gad actually utilized everything. Like if they killed the buffalo, they actually utilized every part of the buffalo. They skinned it, used the fur for clothes. You know, they used the bones for weapons. They might be handles to their knife, whatever. They ate the meat. You know, they utilized the whole animal. Esau is a wasteful individual, a wasteful creature. This is the most wasteful society. And then at the end, after you, like the elder Yeshua said, these motherfuckers done fucked up the world, but then want to make it seem like it's the people's fault. This is how much the devil is the devil. Verse 6, how are the things that Esau searched out? How are his hid things sought up? I'm going to skip because the point is verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. This man is the most violent fucking individual on the planet. Let me get something else while I still got this open. I'm not trying to make this that long, but the spirit got it going like way he got it going. I don't want the. I'm gonna get Psalms. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35. I'm going to begin at verse 1. It says, moreover, the word of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Mount Seir is the ancient capital of Edom. So that was the homeland of Esau Edom. And prophesy against it. and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Let's go into that word, desolate. Bear with me for a second. Utterly destroyed, basically, though. That's when you go into the word desolate. Desolate, deserted of people in a state of bleak, dismal emptiness. Having no comfort, companionship, lonely, left neglected, or in ruins, a desolate old house without signs of life, barren. So basically, utterly destroyed. When you go in the book of Obadiah, it tells you that literally Esau, Edom is going to be burnt up, completely destroyed. Um, Back in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, verse 4, I will lay thy cities. No, yeah, that's where I want. Ezekiel 35 and 4, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And you beginning to see the Lord setting up this perfect storm. You know, it talks about in this book of Psalms 119, 126, the Lord began to work because thou have made void thy law. And you can see the Lord beginning to work. You know, you got all these different things going on at one time. And, you know, that's how you know it's the Most High God. This ain't by coincidence. You got this going on, that going on. So when it actually all hits, it's going to be the perfect storm. Verse 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity and in the time that their iniquity had an end. So pay attention to every scripture I brought up. The violence by force, the sword, because the violence covered them like garments. Now, like I said, I read out of that book, you know, this book of how white folks got so rich. Again, who they say the most violent person on the planet? Why do you think the FBI said the major domestic terrorists is white supremacy groups? They're going right back to Ku Klux Klan. But then they'll say Jake, the average 2/3 nigga that sell a bag of weed on the corner, this nigga's Jake is the most violent. Fucking devils. Verse 6, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sit thou hast not hated blood, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Verse 7, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. And, you know, it tells you in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, about how, because part of our reward for those that's been faithful to the Yahweh Shem Yahushua, it tells you in the book, the Apocrypha, about the joy. I forgot how it's worded, but it talks about a man seeing his children and the fall of his enemy, roughly paraphrased. 6 things I see if it's roughly paraphrased like things that make thee happy, the joy of one's children, and the fall of one's enemy. So the Lord is going to use faithful men as a reward. They're going to get to participate because the scriptures speak on it. In the book of Daniel, chapter 7, it says the saints shall take the kingdom. Because that's how kingdoms are taken. One kingdom goes down, another kingdom rises up. That's why it talks about the Most High as the Lord of Sabbath oaths, because he, the Lord of armies. He's the Father of spirits. Although he has, you know, Yasharallah is the apple of his eye. And, you know, he created Yasharallah to be a separate holy people from all the other nations. You know, he is the Father of spirits, so he has control over all the nations. It tells you, and I think in the book of Daniel, chapter 4, about the Most High rule in the kingdom of man and give it to whomever he will. Ezekiel 25. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to get that. I'm going to just probably end it with this. This is the book of Psalms 137. So one of the rewards would be to, David asked for to basically take hold of, to get his hands on his enemies. And the Most High rewarded him by allowing him to. He conquered all his enemies. David actually put all the nations in servitude. This is the book of Psalms 137, verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise into the foundation thereof. Verse 8.